Artist Stallion a cotton store. It is run by a gentleman named Shadow Wolf. He's the only person named Shadow Wolf in all of furry fandom. Shadow sent me a message one day and he said, "Kage, I want to buy a POS. I said, "You already drive one. What's the point?" He said, "No, for the con." I said, "We don't need to drive one." No, he explained to me a POS is a point of sale system. I said, "Don't we have one?" He said, "We do, but it's old and outdated." I said, "Dude, I bought that goddamn thing a year ago." He said, "Yeah." Okay, all right. We had this point of sale system that worked really, really great. We had like 3,000 people. Now we've got almost 8,000 people.
Favorite friends.
So you're like, oh, hello. Just leave it there. Please? Mm-hmm. No. Mm-hmm. Keep going, yes, thank you.
We offer these to you.
Mm-hmm.
Is he gonna shine your shoes?
Yeah. No.
You're the chairman now!
No!
Take this!
This is like the ferryman on the river Styx. If you take his oar, you are now the ferryman. Dude, get away from me. I'm not going. I will. All right, back, you back to hell, back. It seems I shall have to wear protection for the remainder of this show. Return that to the front desk, thank you. Off you go, boy. There'll be a quarter in it for you if you're quick. Okay, you old people understand that. The rest of you like, look. All right, okay, he's gone. Anyway. Shadow Wolf wanted to buy a point-of-sale system to supplement the one that we already had. So I said, "Go ahead, buy one. Buy, we got money." Buy a cheap one, thank you. Alkali's not the only Jew here. You didn't know that, did you? So, yes, it's true. Jew. So, Shadow Wolf contacted an outfit in Utah and said, "Hi, we want to buy this huge $7,500 point-of-sale system." And it was, okay, here's the thing. People on my staff can order stuff. I'm the only one allowed to spend the money. Again, Jew, anyway, I can say that here, can I? This is a northern state, all right. So, wait, something odd happened. Dr. Forrester's here, hello. Something very, very odd happened. Deep 13. I got a phone call from this gentleman that ran the point of sale sales place. I'm not going to give his full name for reasons of liability. I shall simply say his last name was O. Let's leave it at that. His first name was Doug. He was Doug O. Doug O. Yes, he was Doug O. So he called me up and he said, "Okay, I am going to send your point of sale system. Come in, please. Make yourself some." I said, "Great, I'll give you my credit card number." And he said, "Could you send a check?" I said, "Well, why?" He said, "Well, you know, with a credit card, we got to change the extra 2 3/4% and all this stuff, and it would just be easier for a check." Sounded good to me. I'm not a very good Jew. So I sent him a check, and he said, "I will send you the point-of-sale system." This was the 31st of March of 2016. Keep the timeline in mind, all right? This is going to be important. The 31st of March, 2016, Dogo took my check for $7,500 and said, "I will send you a point-of-sale system." I said, "When will I have it?" He said, "End of the month." Great! It's March. All right, okay, so I gave him the benefit of the doubt, thought April. April came, and then into May. And I hadn't heard anything. So I sent an email to Shadow, and I said, "Excuse me, have you gotten that POS system?" He said, "Did you order it?" Foreshadowing. Did you order it? He said. Well, I said, yes. I was kind of hoping you had it by now. So Shadow started trying to get in touch with Doug O and couldn't. He kept getting voicemails and he'd send emails, they wouldn't be returned. And he sent me an email saying, I can't get in touch with the guy. I said, okay, do this. This is the way Entercon operates. I said, send a message to Doug O and tell him that your CEO is an unbalanced, psychotic asshole with a temper tantrum streak that is willing to, like, tear the world apart if he doesn't get what he wants. It's true. So, Shadow did. That did something because Doug O called him back and said, all right, I'll get it to you by the end of the month. I said, all right, give him till the end of the month and then turn him over to me. The end of the month came. Shadow called up the offices in Utah and got a voicemail that said, our offices are closed to observe a local holiday. We'll be open tomorrow. He got that message for a week. Yeah. So he finally got a promise from Doug O, chasing him, that we would have that point-of-sale system by the 10th of June. Remember I said keep the timeline in mind? 10th of June. June 10th, it'll be there. And Shadow said, yeah, that's the drop-dead date because our convention starts on, like, the 28th. We're going to need to get this thing in, so if we don't have it by the 10th, there's going to be problems. Remember the CEO, you know, big, giant, angry douchebag? Ask anybody who works at Amplifon. Especially my mom, she'll tell you. So, the 10th arrived, and at the end of the day, I sent an email to Shadow saying, do you have it? And he said no. So I sent an email to Doug O saying, dear Doug, call me, and the phone number. I got an answer. The answer said, I know, we're working on it, we're gonna have it in the next couple of days. There's just like one part we're still working on, we're gonna have to da. And my reply was, that's nice. Call me. Phone number. And he replied, I can't call you, I'm not in my office. Now, I knew that Utah was a rustic place, but I never realized there was only a single telephone in the entire state, and it was located in this man's office. So, he didn't call me. I got vexed. I got vexed because I was starting to get the feeling this gentleman was messing with me, which is usually not a good idea. Anybody who's known me for a long time knows that's not a good idea. Anybody been to Amplifon? Yeah. You know that big river behind the convention center? That's my river. Shadow sent me an email a week later saying, we still don't have it. And I said, all right. I sent an email to Doug O, and I CC'd Shadow saying, we cannot wait any longer. Shadow, order me a different POS system from a different supplier. Mr. O, I shall expect a refund. I want it in 10 days. Now remember, this is not my money. This is your money. I'm working for you guys. Those of you who go to Amplifon, the rest of you fuck off. Anyway. I got an email back almost immediately from Mr. O saying, I can't give you a refund. We've already shipped the system. That's great. That's lovely. Okay. Could you send me a tracking number? Now, okay, I'm not making any of this up. I'll show you the emails. I said, could you send me a tracking number? And his response was, yes, I could send you a tracking number. And I wrote back, okay. okay. When will you send me the tracking number? He said, I'll send it to you by the end of the day tomorrow. The end of the day tomorrow came, and I didn't have a tracking number. So I sent an email saying, Dear Doug, do you have my tracking number? The reply was somewhat unusual. He wrote back, and I quote, You know, I don't like your attitude. I'm not going to deal with you anymore. I'm only going to deal with Shadow from now on. Really? Okay. I sent an email back saying, Shadow, order me a different point-of-sale system. If something arrives from Doug O, I want you to return it. Mr. O, I want a refund, and I want it in the next 10 days. Mr. O sent back a lengthy email that started out with something like, You can't tell me what to do, I didn't read further than that. I simply replied with the exact same email. You will send me a refund in the next 10 days. Well, Shadow ordered very expensive overnight express, a replacement point-of-sale system for Anthrocon's Con Store and Artist Alley. He was trying to get the software from the old POS system, which Doug O had supplied us, to talk with the new POS system and was having difficulty. So he put in a system disk into the existing point-of-sale system, and it immediately flagged Doug O's software as spyware. Okay, anybody who's surprised, raise your hand, okay? I've been seeing hands. Very good, you're very wise. Anthrocon came and went, and afterward, it was well past 10 days, I sent an email that said, Dear Mr. O, I've not seen my refund, where is it? And he didn't answer. And I thought, isn't this cute? He wants to play. Once again, those of you who have known me for a long time know, I like to play. Yes, I do. I'm very playful. So, I did a little bit of research. State of Utah. Small claims court. The limit is $10,000. This guy owes me $7,500. That's easy. I filed the papers. Paper was great. What is your complaint? I ordered stuff, I paid him, he did not send me stuff, I want my money. Easy. And we got back the papers and said, okay, you are now the defendant, he is the plaintiff. The defendant is Anthrocon versus Doug O. Now, anybody who is not familiar with the process, or if you're from outside the United States, here's how it works. Once the lawsuit has been filed, you then have to officially deliver the announcement of the lawsuit and the court date to the defendant. That's done. It's called serving the papers. You've heard the expression, you've been served. That is done by calling up a process server. This is their job. This is what they do. They serve papers on people. So I called up a process server in the little village of Provo, Utah. And I said, okay, there's a guy in that neck of the woods who's cheated me big time. I got some papers I need you to serve on him. And the process server said on the phone, okay, we can do that. What's the name of the defendant? And I said, the name is Mr. O. And the process server said, Doug O? I said, you know him, do you? And he said, well, we do. I said, I see. Do you need an address? He said, no, we've got that. So it was only a few days later that I got the word back from the process server, the official mail, and said, yes, we served the summons. It's a summons to appear in court on Mr. O. He will have to face the judge and Uncle Kage In court. The court date was the 5th of October of 2016. You're taking notes, right? I had to take a vacation day from work. This did not put me in a good humor. But you know, if you're going to go to court, you need to dress properly, right, partner? Visual aid. You don't wear a lab coat. You wear a nice Bill Glass blazer, like this. And if you're Uncle Kage, always wear it. So, the night of the 4th of October, I flew on Southwest Airlines. Don't have it first class. I flew on Southwest Airlines out to Salt Lake City, rented a car, drove south to the town of Provo and rented a hotel room, and stayed the night, woke up the next morning, drove into the courthouse. And I went in. The summons said to be there at 8:30 a.m. on this date. I was there at 8:30 a.m. So was everyone else. They just tell everybody, show up at 8:30, we'll figure it out when you get here. So there was a huge crowd, like half the room, these people sitting out in this big common waiting room. And I walked in and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, I don't know what Doug O looks like. So I just went in and I found a seat and I sat down and I just kind of, looked at my lap. And when I glanced around, I noticed everyone else was sitting there looking at their lap. Well, at 8:30, the bailiff came out. He comes in and he says, okay, court is now in session. Everybody come on inside. So we all get in, we filed in. Lovely, lovely courtroom. Oak paneling, lots of seats in the back. Very Judge Judy. I love Judge Judy. So I went in and I sat down with everybody. I didn't take the hat off me. But I'm still not looking at anybody. And after a couple of minutes, we're all sitting there in silence. The bailiff came in the back with a court reporter and the judge. He's got like the black, Emperor Palpatine robes on there. He comes in, the bailiff says, all rise. Okay, be seated, all right? It's like that little game you played in kindergarten. Randall Duke of York. Anyway, the bailiff came over and he addressed everyone and he said, all right, everybody who's here for arbitration, we're going to go into this room over here and we'll handle the arbitration. And everybody stood up and I said, and the bailiff said, you're Anthropon? I said, yes, I am Anthropon. He said, your case is going to be adjudicated. Love that. Your case is going to be adjudicated right here, so you can stay where you are. Oh, okay, thank you very much. So I sat down. Everybody else left. And I was sitting alone in the courtroom. I'll get my cell phone out, but there's this giant sign that says, don't even think of getting a cell phone out! And the door opened in the back, and this little Hispanic man with a vacuum cleaner came in. And I watched him. And then he left. I'm looking at the judge's chair, big leather chair, arms in this film. I'm thinking that'd be fun. Maybe I'll just... And the door opened, and the bailiff and the court reporter and the judge came in, and the bailiff said, "All rise." And the judge said, so I walked up. There was a podium there. They gave Uncle Kage a podium. And I'm like, The judge said, "State your case." I said, "Well, Your Honor, this gentleman, Doug O., took payment for and did not deliver, and hence I am here, would like to adjudicate, blah, blah, blah." That's actually what I said, but that's legalese. The judge understood it. And the judge was flipping through my papers like he's bored. This is another one. He flipped it, and he got to kind of knit his brow. Flip, flip, flip. And he said, Mr. Conway, sorry, Dr. Conway, did you come out here from North Carolina? I said, "Yes, Your Honor, I did." He said, "Where's the defendant?" I said, I don't know, Your Honor. I haven't the faintest idea. The judge said, "Oh. How much did it cost you to get out here?" I said, "Well, Your Honor, I happen to have an itemized list of all my travel." So the judge said, "Oh, okay, airfare, Southwest, hotel, rental car, yeah. Did you have breakfast this morning?" "Yes, sir, I did." He said, "How much did it cost?" I said, "It's like $12.50, $25. I think I'm starting to like him. So he said, "Okay, default judgment for the plaintiff for the original plus all the travel costs." I thought I should have freaking bought a first-class ticket. And while the judge was wrapping up, I said, "Excuse me, Your Honor, I do have an additional bit of data. I don't know if it's germane to the case." I learned that from Judge Judy. It's not germane to the case. And I said, he looked up with interest, and I said, "It's become apparent to me this is not the first time that Mr. O has skipped out on a court date. You ever seen somebody who looked real bored who suddenly got interested?" He leaned forward and he said, "Really now?" I said, "Yes, apparently, Your Honor, 2 days before I sent the check to Mr. O, I did a little bit of research. I discovered he failed to appear for another court case where somebody else wanted to have a word with him." And the judge frowned. And he said, "Do you have the details of that case?" I said, "Actually, Your Honor, I happen to have all the details of that case." So the judge took it, and I heard him say to the bailiff, "I'm starting to like this." So he is like, "This brow is rough." I decided it was time to inquire. I said, "I beg your pardon, Your Honor, I do not know if you are in a position to advise me in such matters, but may I ask your professional opinion, since it's 9:30 in the morning and my flight out home isn't until 6, would you advise one way or the other about me driving out to Mr. O's address and handing him these papers personally?" And the judge glanced up at me and he glanced over at the bailiff. The bailiff said, the judge looked back at me. And he got a Post-it note. And he wrote, "This is the address of the local sheriff's department in that town. Go talk to them." Okay. So I got in my nice little rental car. Make sure I don't lose anything here. Because because I seem to think that my wallet was in the pocket of this, but it went away. We'll figure that out later. Anyway, got my nice rental car. And I drove to this little town south of Provo. Don't ask me what it was, I'll tell you later at the bar. By the way, if you're putting this on YouTube, please don't. You know, you can show this to your friends, don't post it publicly, and I'll tell you why later on. But just don't post it publicly, all right? You'll see. So I drove down to this little tiny town south of Provo. We'll call it Provo Light. And I went to the sheriff's office, and the lady came out and she let me in, and I said, yes, I have these papers that say that this is a dreadful man who needs to pay me money. And he's like, so what are you doing here? I said, well, I kind of wanted to talk to the sheriff's department before I went to visit him. And he said, all right, sit down. I said, oh, I'm sorry, it was a lady. I had taken my hat off. Retreat. So I sat down. And the deputy came in. He was looking bored. He was like, do I got to deal with this idiot? He came out. All right, your name is Conway, all right. Yeah. What is the issue today? And I said, well, this guy, and I was in court in the papers, and he's like, yeah, all right, okay. And who is the person you want to serve these papers on? I said, it's a Mr. O. And the deputy stopped and said, Doug O? I said, strangely enough, yes. Remember how I said the judge got all interested all of a sudden? The deputy got all interested all of a sudden. And he said, oh, well, okay, really, right. And I said, okay, this is my chance. I said, well, Mr. Deputy Dude, I was gonna head over to the office address I had for him. Is there anybody available who might, have some time to go with me? And the deputy said, I'm not doing anything. I said, well, let's go. So I hopped in my car, the deputy hopped in his cruiser, and I'm following him, driving along. We drive downtown. It was, I don't know, we'll call it Main Street, right? It's a little town, Main Street. And it's number 200 Main Street, okay? So we get there, and we park the vehicles, and we get out, we walk. It's a very, Main Street, USA, a bunch of storefronts. We come to number 200, and it's all boarded up. And the deputy noticed there was a little post-it note that said, deliveries for number 200 are in the rear. And he looked at me and said, want to walk around back? And I said, you're the cop, let's go. We walked around back. There were a bunch of doors, but none of them had a number on it. I'm like, okay, 100, 110, 120. That looks like it's going to be number 200. So I went and I knocked on the door. Knocked on the door. And a very, very nice lady answered. And I said, good day, ma'am. Is this number 200? And she said, yes, it is. And I said, I might have been wasting your time. I was actually looking for it. She said, Doug O? I said, well, strangely enough, yes. She said, oh, is he still using this as his business address? He hasn't been here for 2 years. I looked at the deputy, and the deputy was like, I said, oh, well, I feel very awkward. I didn't mean to interrupt you. You wouldn't by chance happen to know where he's doing business now, would you? And she said, no, I don't. I do have some, it might be helpful. I'll be right back. And she ran off in the back, and she came out with this big rolled up piece of paper. When Doug O had been there, he'd had the place renovated, and this was an architect's blueprint. And he'd left it behind, and there was an address on it. And the deputy looked at it and said, that's a residential address. I said, do you still have time? He said, I got time. I said, let's go. So we drove to this residential address. Okay. When we got there, the house was from here on. This was like a 400 million square foot palatial mansion, Palace of Versailles, 4-car garage, terrace lawn, built-in pool. I looked at it and I said, well, it's nice to see what Doug's been doing with my money. And the deputy scowled and he said, this guy's no better than a drug dealer. I said, oh, no. Drug dealers work for their money. I said to the deputy, can we go up and ring the bell? He said, after you. And this giant oaken door creaked open. And a young gentleman, I don't know, late teens, something like that, came out and said, may I help you? I said, yes, we're looking for Doug O. He said, he's not here right now. I said, oh, dear. Do you happen to know when he'll be back? The young man said, well, I don't really know. May I ask what this is about? I looked back and the deputy's going, I said, well, yes, you must be Doug's, you're his, and he said, I'm his son. I said, oh, yes, I learned that from the media. You're Doug's son. It's good to meet you. Yeah. So, yeah, your dad and I, we had a breakfast appointment this morning, and he didn't show up, and I was just a little worried. Wanted to make sure everything was okay. So you don't know when he's going to be back? And the kid said, no, I don't. I said, okay. Are you over 18 by chance? He said, yes, I am. So great. Listen, would you be good enough when your dad gets here? Could you just give him this piece of paper? That's great. And could you also, put your name on this piece of paper that says I gave it to you? It was a good lad. Thank you so much. We'll see you later. And I walked with the deputy, and the deputy's like, So we got to the street, and the deputy said, would you like to file a fraud complaint? And I said, hell yeah. I said, let's start. Well, you do that with the town police. You see, it's complicated. You got the township deputies. They basically enforce court orders. The town police handle legal matters. Anyway, I needed a different flavor of cop. That's the bottom line. And I said, well, I actually had been in touch with somebody from the local police department. I really didn't get very far, and I don't think they understood what I was talking about. He said, do you remember who you spoke to? I said, yes, it was Officer... He said, well, he left the force years ago. Oh, that's terrible. I made that up, that's not true. I couldn't remember. So I said, well, let me get an officer out here, and maybe we can figure out who you talked to. Well, it was maybe 3 minutes later that another cruiser pulled up. Now I got two cruisers up here. And a differently uniformed police officer was in there, and I and the deputy, we walked up to the window, and the deputy said, this is Mr. Conway. He's here to serve some papers on Mr. O. And the town cop said, Doug O? And the deputy said, as a matter of fact, yes. And the deputy got all excited. And, oh, I suddenly remembered, wait. I corresponded by email to the cop. Guys, okay, my phone is in the rental car. You guys wait here. I'll go get my phone out. I'll look up my email, and I'll tell you the name of the officer. Okay, wait. So I ran to the car. I sat down and get out my smarty phone. I do this, right? While I was doing that, this very, very large Cadillac Escalade with dark windows pulled up the street and slowed down when it saw the two police cruisers in front of the house. And I saw the deputy go up to to the passenger side window, you know, kind of like escalator, went to the passenger side window. And then the Escalade quietly drove into the driveway and picked one of the bays of the 4-car garage and parked in it. And I got out of the car and I said to the deputy, the deputy said, and I said, and I went to the end of the driveway and I stood. I was thinking, my flight don't leave till 6. I got all day. I don't know how long it was, 5 minutes, 25 minutes. After some time, the door next to this giant 4-car garage door opened and an older gentleman came out. And he had that piece of paper in his hand. And I said, yo, excuse me, are you Doggo? He said, yeah. I said, yeah, I wonder if I could talk to you for a minute. I figured the South Philly accent would really treat me well here, okay? He walked up and said, yeah, I'm Sam Conway with Androcon. We had an appointment this morning and I was really looking forward to you. I mean, I really wanted to settle this like gentlemen. You know, I was kind of hoping you and I could do that. He looked over my shoulder, he said, what are these two fellas doing here? And the cops are going, I said, oh, them. Yeah, they're, well, okay, they found out I'm from out of town and they were afraid I'd get lost. They just come here to make sure, it doesn't matter, you know, where's, the point is, I'm here, right? And so are you, okay? So, why don't we get down to business? And he said, well, you know, you told your guy to refuse shipment. I said, yeah, listen, let's cut to the chase. I got fucking doctor in front of my name, all right? Just don't, okay? Here's the bottom line. You got my money, I don't got the goods. I want the money. And I don't want to wait for it. But I'm gonna make you a deal. See, I'm really loving this beautiful scenery you got out here. I don't mind paying my own money because you might have noticed the judge was good enough to give me the extra travel costs. Here's the deal. If you give me back just the money that you owe to my organization, we'll call it square. I won't hold you to the extra travel costs. What do you say? He said, well, that sounds fair. Give me your bank account information, I'll wire it to you. I said, I don't trust this technology stuff. I prefer the old-fashioned way in most business dealings. Tell you what, you get me a certified check from the bank, and you send it to me, and we'll just make this whole thing go away, all right? He said, well, that's great, I can do that. I said, yeah, when you gonna do that, okay? When? He said, well, I can have it to you by the 22nd. I said, oh, the 22nd. The 22nd of this month, right? October 22nd, 2016. Right? All right, I'll tell you what. You get me the money by that date, and you sends it to me, because I figure it's gonna take time to get through the mail, I'll give you till the end of the month. But on the 22nd, I suggest you send me, you know, like a tracking number, so I know it's coming. And after that, we'll be friends again. What do you say? That's what I did. He said, all right. I said, beautiful. Let me shake your hand. Thank you. I turned around, I went back to the cops. I walked back and I'm like, what a cunt. And the city cop was sitting in the car like this. I went up to the window and he looked up to me like his puppy just died. And he said, I was hoping he'd take a swing at you. I said, yeah, me too, kinda. He said, that would have been such an easy arrest. And he turned, you know the little computer the cops got in the crate? He turned the little computer to me and it said, Doug O, parenthesis, shady business dealings, close parenthesis, right on the cop computer there. Well, as we were talking, the garage door opened again. And that big Cadillac Escalade came out and started coming our direction. I'm leaning in the window of the cruiser, and I didn't look. I glanced over, I saw it coming. I said to the deputy, do you suppose he'll try to run me down? And the cop said, well, I hope so. I said, I'm going to take that the positive way, all right? But old Doug, he just kind of veered off and avoided me, and as he went by, I went. Well, I flew back to North Carolina, waited for the end of the month. Halloween. Wonderful day, I love Halloween. I didn't have any mail. So I sent an email to good old Doug O saying, excuse me, I understand we had a deal. I had to write the Philadelphia accent to keep the thing up. I understand we had a deal, you know? I was kind of, you know, the deal was you send me the money, I'm not going to hold you the whole thing. I'm afraid at this point I'm going to have to ask you for the full amount. You know, I hate to do it, but, you know, when are you going to send that to me? He didn't answer. You know, the internet is a scary place filled with traps and pitfalls. But if you know what you're doing, you can find a wealth of information. I happen to find the business that Doug O is currently operating under. So I called. And I got a nice lady answered. And I said, yeah, I wonder if Doug O was there? And she said, may I ask who's calling? Okay, now there's some soul searching to do. Now we'll play this straight. I said, yeah, just tell him it's Sam Conway with Anthrocon. See, in Philadelphia, there's no H in Anthrocon. It's Anthrocon, right? So I got put on hold for about 2 minutes. And then it went to voicemail. Hi, it's Doug O. Please leave a message. And I left a message. Yeah, Doug, it's your buddy Sam. I sent you an email. I was wondering if you got it. Bye. It could not have been 60 seconds later that I had an email from Doug saying, look, I told you I'd get you the money. Don't ever call my workplace again. That's what I said. And I sent back an email saying, but Doug, I like talking to you so much. But if that's how you feel, you know, okay, but you know, I'll just give you my personal guarantee as a gentleman that the very second you send me the money, you're never going to hear my voice again. And he wrote back, I'm going to tell you one more time. I told you I would get you the money. If you try to contact me again, you're only going to just delay it. I wrote back, and I've shown this email to some folk, just as witnesses. I wrote back, Doug, look, there's really no reason to have any animosity. I don't want to spoil our friendship. Listen, it's probably real difficult for you to get to the post office. I know you're a busy guy. I got an idea. I'm going to be back in town in about 3 weeks to visit some friends of mine. Why don't we come over to your place? You know, we'll just, get together, knock back a couple of beers around that pool of yours. Maybe we'll invite along that son of yours. You look like a fine young man. He didn't answer that. Okay. So, this whole thing's gonna be about Doug. So I decided it's time to call a lawyer. I called up a lawyer, and I said, "Hello, Mr. Lawyer. I got a fellow, I got a default judgment against him." I frightened him.
I'll be
They must be
back.
from Utah. You guys aren't related to Dogo, are you? There's a reason I don't want this on YouTube, by the way. I contact Mr. Lawyer Dude. I said, "Yo, Mr. Lawyer Dude." No, I didn't do the Philly thing. I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Lawyer, sir. And there's a fellow in around this area who, my God, it must be boring as all hell. And he owes me a bunch of money. I got a default judgment, and he's not paying me, and I'd like to know what my options are." And the lawyer said, well, we can explore the options. Who is the defendant? I said, "His name is O." And the lawyer said, I wish I could make this shit up. So the lawyer said, "Okay, we have a couple of options when you have an unpaid debt. Number one, we could put a lien on his house, and then he won't be able to sell the house until he pays the debt." I said, "Well, that could be like 35 freaking years from now. I'll be dead by then. I don't want that. I'm going back to Philly, aren't I? All right." So the lawyer said, "Well, we can do that anyways. We'll do that just for giggles, okay? We'll do that." And the lawyer said, "Well, we could send him a summons for a supplementary hearing where he will have to come in and explain to the judge why he hasn't paid you." And I said, "Okay, he didn't show up for the first hearing. I got no reason to believe he's going to show up for another. What's next?" The lawyer said, "Well, we could seek a writ to start seizing property and selling it." I said, "That's the one. Let's talk that one." And the lawyer said, "Well, first we would have to have a discovery phase. We would have to know what kind of property he has." And I said, "Well, okay, first off, he's got that giant 400 million room house. And I couldn't help noticing in the driveway there was this monstrous travel trailer. That looks like property." And the lawyer said, "Do you know if he owns it? Is it in his name?" I said, "Oh, I don't know." The lawyer said, "That's the problem. We have to find out what he owns in his name. Is that travel trailer in his name? If it is, we can seize it." I said, "Let's do it." He said, "All right, slow down. Let me contact a friend at the DMV. And okay, your retainer, you have to send me $1,000 and I am your lawyer." That's how it works. Okay, so I paid the guy $1,000. All right. Some days later, I got a call from the lawyer saying, "Okay, Sam," call me Sam. He said, "Okay, here's what I discovered. Duggo does not own that travel trailer." I said, "Oh." He said, "Here's, according to DMV records, what he owns. He owns a Yamaha motorcycle." I said, "Yeah." "He owns a Ford Escort, some little piece of bullshit." He said, "He owns a Cadillac Escalade." I said, "Yeah, I saw that." "He owns a Porsche 911. I said, "Getting warm." "And he owns a Lamborghini." I said, "Bingo." I want that. So the lawyer said, "Well, okay, we have to do, a bunch of lawyer things. Let me do some lawyer things." So he went away, and it was several days later, he called back and said, "Okay, so we have established that he owns these vehicles, but we do not know how much equity he has in them. If he's got a loan on the thing, and, he owns you owe 8% of it, that's great. If he's only started payments, that's not gonna help. I said, okay, son, you're talking too fast for me here. What's the bottom line? And he said, the bottom line is, we don't know how much he owes, so we have to get enough equity. I said, all right, let's put it this way. Which one are we gonna grab? The lawyer said, all of them. I said, I'm really starting to like you. With the time as it is, I'll have to skip a little bit. It's all boring shit anyway. I'll skip to the good part. I'll skip to the part where the state constable showed up at Doug O's door with an order. The constable knocked on the door, and a lady answered, Mrs. O, and said, may I help you? And the constable said, yeah, I'm here for the Lamborghini. He was from Philadelphia. I'm here for the Lamborghini. And Mrs. O said, we sold it.
Oh!
And the constable said, oh, that's too bad. All right, how about the Porsche? She said, we sold that too. The constable said, all right. You're not going to tell me you sold that Cadillac Escalade because I seen you driving it yesterday. They said, oh, no, that's in the repair shop. The constable said, that's nice. Because he's from Philly. He said, that's nice. Where's this repair shop? What's the address? So she gave him the address, and he started going to the repair shop. He was halfway there when his cell phone rang. Lo and behold, it's Doug. I'm only guessing that Mrs. O called up Doug and said, I just lied to a state official. Is that bad? Because Doug said to the constable, okay, my wife misspoke. When she said we'd sold the Lamborghini, she actually meant we had not sold the Lamborghini. The constable said, where is it? Doug said, it's at home. The constable said, I'm on my way. Constable arrived. Doug O was standing at the end of the driveway with $1,000 in cash. He said, give this to Conway, I'll have the rest on Thursday. Well played, Doug. He has attempted to pay. That put everything on hold. And the lawyer called and told me that, and I said, I am displeased. I want you to go and seize his vehicles! And the lawyer said, we can't, he has attempted to pay. He said that he would have the rest of the money on Thursday. I said, which Thursday? I'll tell you what, at 4:59 p.m. this Thursday, I want the constable back there with a record. That's a tow truck, by the way, right there. And the constable, I'm sorry, the deputy, thank you. He called me, the lawyer man called me on Thursday saying, I just got a call from Doug O saying he doesn't have the rest of the money. He's given me another $5,000. He said he'll have the rest of the money next Friday. Is that okay with you? And I said, no. That is not okay with me. I want you to go out there and seize everything you can get your grubby little lawyer hands on. I probably shouldn't have said that. And I want you to make this man squeal. I want you to record it. I want to hear him squealing. It will give me an erection. I want to hear it. See, the really funny part is that's actually what I said. My office mate, a lovely man named Istvan, he's sitting in his office and I watched him go. And the lawyer said, well, additional money for each vehicle we seize. We've got to pay the constable, you got to pay the wrecker and storage. It can run up extra money. I said, I don't care. The money's not important. I want satisfaction. On Monday, the lawyer called me up and he said, I gave Mr. O until Friday. And I said, and the lawyer said, Mr. Conway, do you represent your organization or do you represent yourself? And I said, he said, I am supposed to act in your organization's best interest. And I said, if he doesn't have the rest of the money by that date, I want you to do what I do. At the end of the week, at 4:59 p.m., the lawyer called and said he is just paid in full. No, it was cash. And Anthrocon now has recouped the cost of the point-of-sale system. And that would be the end of the story. This is why I don't want it on YouTube. I'm gonna let it sit for a while. But you know, I had to pay that lawyer $1,000. I'm not finished with Mr. O. Maybe I'll invite him to Anthrocon. Yeah, Mr. O, what do you think of Pittsburgh? Let me show you this lovely river of mine. I could make him guest of honor.
Guest honor. Yes.
I could make him guest of honor. Because 1998, I was guest of honor. And they made me chairman. I'm not finished with Mr. O. I intend to enjoy this as long as I can. You know, I would love to tell you a bunch of other stories. The problem is, it's been an hour and they call this Uncle Kage story hour. But the really neat part is, immediately after this, I get to share the stage with one of the most outstanding and probably funny guys I've ever met. To the Ramsey Griffin, who cannot be here, so Alkali is going to come up. Thank you very much.
Io ne oso di questi